All right, welcome back everyone. So this will be the last video in the series of videos showing the instructions of how to do this assignment. On Tuesday, we talked about making a steady beat, as you can see down here. And then yesterday we talked a little bit about making background stuff, and there was some confusion about what background means. For the most part, when we talk about the background in music, we're just talking about the stuff that sort of like fills in the gaps a little bit, because the melody is the most important part, and then the beat is sort of something that provides the time. But the background stuff, without the background stuff, it would just sound kind of empty, right? If you just had the melody and you just had the beat, it would sound kind of like it's missing something. So the background just kind of fills things in. And we talked about the background yesterday. So if you want more clarification on what the background should sound like I said, simple and predictable, go check out those documents and those videos, and that will help you do that. Anyways, today, the last part of it is going to be making a melody. Now, for the beat and the background stuff, we talked about how that needs to be simple and predictable and repeated and lots of things that aren't going to get in the way. The melody is the opposite. The melody is the thing that you're going to be doing the most movement with, or the most sort of action, because that's the thing that you want the person who is listening to the music to actually hear. So, for that reason, there's actually a lot of different things you can do with the melody, so I'm not going to give you a whole ton of direction on what you need to do with it, because I want you to do your own thing, but I will give you some suggestions. So, we're going to be using the top area of this grid here to do the melody, so that way we can hear it, and like I said, the background is down here, and the melody, if you want it to sound like it works really well with the background stuff you've created and stuff like that, you might want to try using some of the same notes that you used in your background so that it blends well. So if you used a note 1 or a note 3 or something like that, it might be a good idea to use that in here as well. Now, like I said, in the melody, it doesn't need to repeat or have repeated sections, but sometimes it's good to do that. So let's do some stuff here and just sort of see what we'll what we can come up with here. So for this one, just to remind you what that sounds like. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Probably don't do anything too active for this one. Let's try this. Eh. So it kind of works pretty well with these ones, and that's because I used a lot of the same notes in this background, or in the melody that I did in the background, right? So you got some note 3, some note 4, going on to note 1 as well. So a lot of the same notes, doesn't really go above that. Now, another thing that you might notice is that I didn't just have a straight line full of notes, because that can get a little bit boring to listen to. That works for background stuff because it's just the background, and we do want that to kind of fade into the back a little bit. But with melody stuff, you want to leave a little bit of space so that the listener can kind of breathe a little bit. So take a listen again. Now, like I said, it doesn't need to repeat because it's the melody, but sometimes it's nice to do that. So why don't we do something like this for the second half of it? It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be very similar. Let's hear what that sounds like. There you go. So, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's take a look at a couple of the other beats that we were looking at before. So, this one here. So we used most of the notes in this one, so the idea of picking notes that we did in the background is going to not really apply here, but why don't we do this? There we go. So you'll see very, very sort of like straightforward motion here. This one doesn't move for a little bit, and then it does a little bit of a curve, and then it jumps a little bit. You're allowed to do that with the melody in this one because if you have sort of a little bit of it, it sounds pretty cool. If you do too much of it, it gets a little bit awkward. But a little bit of motion is not a bad thing in this one. So let's hear what this sounds like. Kind of sounds like something out of Animal Crossing. Okay, let's see. For this next little bit of it, I don't want to repeat the exact same thing. Why don't we leave a little bit of space so that the listener can kind of enjoy what we just did, and let's add. I don't know. Maybe just a little thing. Oh, there's an email. Okay, how about this? We're gonna go with. There we go. Let's try that. Cool. Not bad. All right. Let's move on to this one. Okay. So for this one, we're going to go nice and straightforward because it's already moving pretty fast. We don't want it to get too confusing. So, no. Yes. Okay. So you'll kind of see that I kind of repeated a little bit of what I was doing I did at the beginning, then I repeated a little bit at the beginning of this one, but then I changed it a little bit. So, like I said, repetition, kind of cool, doesn't always need to be there. Let's take a listen to what this sounds like. Nice. So one thing that I will add, and this is kind of a musician tip, when it's moving fast like this and there's a lot of emphasis on, like the strong beats like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, it's kind of cool to put a little bit of space on those strong beats in your melody. You'll hear how there is a little bit of space just right there. There's no notes happening right there in the melody, and that's kind of an interesting thing for the ear. Take another listen. Kind of keeps you on your toes. Okay, that is all for today. And stay tuned for instructions for tomorrow. But for today, finish up this stuff. If you want to make some edits on the song that you've been working on so far, go ahead and do that. But yeah, that should be everything. And at this point, you should have a completed song. So that's kind of neat. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will post more instructions as the day goes by. Okay, see you later.